Caddis Maximus here. This time we're reviewing the GM PowerTorque Compact Impact socket sets in both hex and star or torx. These are sold as three different sets: a torx or star set, a metric set, and an imperial hex set. They are combination sizes, so when you buy any of the three different sets, what you'll do is you go to series of sockets in 1/4 inch and some sockets in 3/8 inch. We'll go ahead and take a close look at the 1/4 inch ones here. And they're actually pretty darn nice looking. That's one of the things that was attractive in the shelf. Let's get a more zoom there. Is that all of them look really nice. I actually liked how they aligned the laser etching with the square, so they all line up. However, they do not have any roll stamping, so eventually you won't even be able to read the laser etching. It'll get scraped off and dirtied up. I've used some of these smaller 1/4 inch ones, and besides some of the carbon finish wearing off, they've actually seemed to have held up pretty well. Even this little T10, which is a tiny little star socket. One thing to mention about these is they seem to be, these aren't really designed to break any kind of stubborn fasteners because they're a bit oversized for their drive. And what I mean by that is, in the torx series, you get a really nice selection, which all makes sense with the 1/4 inch drive, as well as the 3/8 inch drive. You know, a T50 is about the same size or a little smaller than 3/8, and you'll be able to get plenty of torque on it. However, when it comes to the hex fasteners or the hex sockets, it's a different story. In the 1/4 inch, when you get the metric set, you get 6 through 10 millimeter. And what is odd is when you're getting to 8 and especially 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter is a very large hex fastener to be driving with a 1/4 inch drive. And so in some situations this will work for breaking fasteners, but you know, Mitsubishi's use 10 millimeter socket head cap screws as head bolts, and you won't get that out with a 1/4 inch. And if you work in any kind of industrial environment where there are socket head cap screws, like a machine shop or CNC equipment or any of that kind of stuff, a millwright, it's a little bit ridiculous to think that you would use a 1/4 inch with a 10 millimeter hex. However, what is nice is that these are pretty compact, and so once you get a fastener broken, you can easily run them out with a ratchet using these sockets. And I'll show you what I mean is they don't have duplicates, and I'll say that is nice. So there isn't a 10 millimeter in the 3/8 drive. The only 10 millimeter you would get with the set is this one little 1/4 inch drive socket. And as compared to, say, a Harbor Freight 3/8 inch 10 millimeter impact hex, it's incredibly small compared to this. And this one could be even undersized, and there's oftentimes you need 1/2 inch drive just for a 10 millimeter. So that's why I wouldn't recommend these for heavy duty bolt breaking use, because you'll just end up with broken tools instead. One thing I will mention is that they are very well sized. If we go ahead and take a look at the sizing of this 10 millimeter, we can see that's 9.99 millimeters. And I've adjusted these. That's really good. Really good. So I really appreciate their real precision sizing. So they do and work very well. They are well sized and they fit in the fasteners nicely. Also, interestingly, you only get 3 sizes in the imperial in the 1/4 inch, where you get 4 in the metric. Now, if we move up to the 3/8, they are still really nice and are sized just the same way. One thing I was going to mention is that they do have nice deep dentants. I don't know if we can see inside there. Yeah. Here we are. If you can look inside there, there is nice deep undercuts to retain it, so they fit on the ratchets really nicely. But here's another example. This is a 19 millimeter 3/8, and it's definitely handy and definitely very short. But it's a little absurd to think about using a 19 millimeter 3/8 drive socket in a hex head cap screw, because those tend to be real heavy duty. One example is if we compare it to the Harbor Freight 1/2 inch drive 19 millimeter. It is a lot more compact, but it isn't as thick, and it doesn't need to be because it isn't to have as big of a drive square. But when you're driving the same size, you know, 3/4 inch hex, it's a little ridiculous. And the disparity gets even worse because in an industrial environment, oftentimes you're using 3/4 inch drive, and there's a reason they make impact 3/4 inch drive hex sockets. A lot of times they can be a bear. And then this thing trying to break the same kind of socket bolts that this 3/4 inch drive would, you know, it's obviously just a little ridiculous. The other issue that I would mention is because of that, they should have either done one thing with the larger sizes, like the 17, 18, and 19, should have been made in 1/2 inch drive. And if they weren't going to do that, then don't put in such large sockets and give us just a couple of tiny or a few of the smaller one, or 1/4 inch drive ones, and give us greater granularity and a lot of the smaller in the hex, and get rid of these giant ones, because they'll help when you're trying to unscrew fasteners, but you're not going to be breaking anything that's 19 millimeter except for, you know, oil caps and that kind of thing. And just for one last comparison here, we'll compare the 3/4 inch. It's the same as the 19 millimeter. If we put that on a ratchet, obviously that's nice and compact. And here's a 3/4 inch L wrench. But even compared to just using a traditional L wrench, this is a long handle ratchet. There's no way this ratchet in a 3/8 drive will ever take even close to the kind of torque that just a regular old 19 millimeter 3/4 inch drive L wrench will take. So that's one thing to be aware of on these, is that they will work, but when you get to the larger sizes, you will be beating up your 3/8 tools. Otherwise, they're perfect for set building. They're really great because they are so compact. These are the smallest hex and star sockets I've ever seen. And so I generally recommend them for just that purpose alone. And in a lot of situations, they're really nice and handy to use. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Catus Maximus out.